Russia spent 2 decades and billions of dollars developing what was supposed to be their F-22 killer, the Su-57. Today, after more than 15 years since its first flight, this fifth-generation stealth fighter has attracted exactly one international customer, Algeria, ordering just 14 aircraft. One customer, 14 jets, in 15 years. During that same period, America's F-35 has been sold to 18 countries with over 1,000 aircraft on order. China's J-20, which first flew the same year as the Su-57, already has over 200 aircraft in service. Even Russia's own Air Force has only accepted around 30 Su-57s and keeps slashing their procurement numbers. This isn't just an export failure. This is one of the most spectacular collapses in modern military aviation history, and the reasons are worse than you think. The warning signs appeared from the beginning. When Russia launched the PAK-FA program in the early 2000s, they promised production aircraft by 2015. That deadline came and went. Then 2017 passed. Then 2019. The Su-57 didn't enter Russian Air Force service until December 2020, 10 years after its first flight. Even that was mostly ceremonial. Russia accepted exactly 2 aircraft that year. Throughout development, funding constantly ran short. Requirements kept shifting. Most tellingly, the Russian government kept cutting their own procurement numbers. The original plan called for 200 Su-57s. That got slashed to 150, then 100, then 76, where it currently sits. Put yourself in the position of a foreign air force considering this aircraft. If Russia won't commit to buying it in meaningful numbers, what does that tell you? When Russia's own military looks at this fighter and decides they only need 76 of them, that sends a clear signal. Russia doesn't believe in their own product. And if they don't, why should anyone else? The Su-57 is marketed as a stealth fighter, but its actual low observable characteristics are deeply compromised. Real stealth aircraft, like the F-22 and F-35, are built with obsessive attention to radar signature reduction. Every surface, every edge, every panel gap is engineered to minimize radar returns. Panel gaps are measured in fractions of millimeters. Look at high-resolution photographs of the Su-57 and you'll see exposed rivets, visible panel gaps around the canopy, and engine nacelles that aren't fully integrated. The infrared search and track sensor protrudes from the nose like a beacon, creating a radar-reflecting surface. Independent analysis suggests the Su-57's radar cross-section is between 0.1 and 1 square meter. The F-22's is between 0.00001 and 0.0005 square meters. The F-35 is around 0.001 to 0.005 square meters. The Su-57 isn't even in the same category. That's barely better than upgraded 4th-generation fighters with radar-absorbent coatings. You're being asked to pay premium prices for 5th-generation capabilities, but what you're getting performs like an upgraded 4th-generation aircraft. That's not a good deal. Every Su-57 currently flying uses what Russia calls interim engines, the Saturn AL-41F1, which is essentially a modified version of the Su-35's 4th-generation engine. The advanced Izdalai-30 engine that was supposed to provide true 5th-generation performance still doesn't exist in production after being promised since the program began. These interim engines lack the thrust needed for sustained supercruise, one of the defining capabilities of 5th-generation fighters. The F-22 can cruise at supersonic speeds without afterburners. The Su-57 cannot. This reduces tactical flexibility, operational range, and increases the infrared signature. The Izdalai-30 has been in testing since 2017. Russia keeps saying production will start soon. They've been saying that for 8 years. Even if it entered production tomorrow, every existing Su-57 would need extensive modifications to integrate it. India, originally partnered with Russia on the Su-57, specifically cited the engine problems as a major concern before withdrawing. When a country with deep expertise in Russian aircraft identifies the engines as fundamentally inadequate, that sends a message to everyone else. India's decision to abandon the Su-57 represents the moment Russia's export dreams collapsed. India wasn't just a potential customer, they were a development partner with billions invested. In 2007, Russia and India signed an agreement to jointly develop a customized variant. India expected to eventually purchase up to 144 aircraft, but as development progressed, India's concerns grew. The stealth characteristics didn't meet expectations. The radar and avionics were inferior to Western systems. The engines were inadequate. Most damning, India concluded the Su-57 wasn't actually a 5th-generation fighter. Russia also refused to share key technologies or allow India meaningful design input. In 2018, India officially withdrew, and they didn't go quietly. Indian Defense Minister Nirmala Sitharaman publicly stated the aircraft didn't meet requirements. Indian defense sources called the stealth inadequate and engine performance insufficient. This public rejection by a major military power that operates hundreds of Russian aircraft, including sophisticated Su-30 MKIs, devastated the program's credibility. If India won't buy it even as a development partner with full technical access, why would anyone take that risk? While Russia struggled, China developed and deployed their own fifth-generation fighters so successfully that they've become direct competitors for the same customers. China's J-20 entered service in 2017 and now has over 200 aircraft in frontline units. Their J-35 carrier fighter is already progressing toward production. This destroys the traditional arms export model Russia relied on. Countries that couldn't access American weapons bought Russian equipment instead. But China now offers an alternative to both, with significant advantages. Chinese aircraft are available now, not in some uncertain future. Chinese production capacity is massive, Chinese financing terms are often more favorable, and Chinese equipment increasingly matches or exceeds Russian quality. For countries considering advanced fighters, the J-20 makes more sense than the Su-57. It's in production at scale. China has demonstrated the capacity to deliver. Pakistan chose to partner with China on the JF-17 rather than buy Russian. Turkey is developing their own fighter rather than buy Russian. These decisions reflect a broader trend away from Russian dependence. The Su-57 is trapped in the worst competitive position, more expensive than Chinese alternatives but less capable than American systems. Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022 dealt a catastrophic blow that exposed the Su-57's limitations in ways Russia can't hide. The most damning evidence comes from how Russia has avoided using it in combat. Russia has conducted over 100,000 sorties in Ukraine. The Su-57 has been used sparingly, launching long-range missiles from within Russian airspace rather than penetrating Ukrainian air defenses. If Russia doesn't trust the Su-57's stealth against Ukraine's modest air defense network, why would any customer trust it against advanced systems? Russia is essentially advertising its inadequacy through operational caution. The war also revealed catastrophic problems with Russia's defense industrial base. Production has slowed dramatically, quality control has degraded, supply chains for critical components have been disrupted. Russia struggles to produce basic weapons like artillery shells and tanks. The idea they can reliably produce fifth-generation fighters for export has become absurd. International sanctions make buying Russian equipment increasingly complicated. Countries risk secondary sanctions from the United States and European Union. Spare parts access becomes uncertain. Technical support becomes problematic. For acquisitions requiring decades of support, this creates unacceptable risk. Most damaging, the war destroyed Russia's reputation for military competence. The world watched Russian forces struggle with logistics and maintenance. Russian equipment was destroyed by Western weapons. Russian doctrine failed against a smaller adversary. When potential customers look at the Su-57 now, they see a product of a military-industrial complex exposed as far less competent than anyone believed. Russia claims they can produce 15 to 20 Su-57s per year. Since entering production in 2020, Russia has delivered approximately 20 to 30 aircraft total over 5 years. That's 4 to 6 aircraft per year, not 15 to 20. Russia's stated goal of 76 aircraft by 2028 would require production rates they've never demonstrated. Compare this to China producing 30 to 50 J-20s per year, or America delivering over 150 F-35s annually. Russia simply cannot compete. For export customers, this creates impossible questions. If you order Su-57s, when will you actually receive them? Russia's own Air Force is still waiting. With such low production volumes, costs remain inflated because economies of scale never materialize. Those costs get passed to export customers. Russia's aircraft production also depends on components from Western and Asian suppliers. Sanctions have disrupted access to many critical parts. Substitute components may not perform as advertised. In late 2023, Algeria ordered 14 Su-57 fighters. This is Russia's only international customer after 15 years. Algeria represents exactly the kind of customer Russia should dominate: traditional Russian arms customer, significant oil revenues, limited Western access. And even they ordered just 14 aircraft. 14 aircraft isn't a serious procurement. It's barely one squadron. When countries genuinely commit to new fighters, they order in large quantities. India operates over 260 Su-30 MKIs. Egypt has over 200 F-16s. Saudi Arabia has more than 150 F-15s. The small order suggests it's either a test purchase, the maximum Russia can deliver in acceptable time, or a political purchase to maintain relations rather than a genuine operational requirement. The details remain murky. No confirmed delivery timelines, no disclosed pricing, no specified configuration. Even if Algeria receives all 14 aircraft successfully, This represents catastrophic failure for an export program. The Su-27/30 family has been exported to over a dozen countries with hundreds sold. Russia expected the Su-57 to follow that success. Instead, one customer, 14 aircraft, after 15 years and billions invested. Russia doesn't publicly disclose Su-57 pricing, but estimates suggest $35 million to $50 million per aircraft. That seems cheap compared to the F-35's $80 million, but the comparison is misleading. First, that price almost certainly excludes everything needed for operational capability, training, spare parts, ground support equipment, weapons integration, long-term maintenance. Russian arms deals are notorious for hidden costs that emerge later. Second, the Su-57's capabilities don't justify even its lower price. You're paying for a fifth-generation fighter that doesn't deliver fifth-generation performance. The stealth is compromised, the engines are inadequate, combat effectiveness is unproven. Third, lifetime operating costs remain unknown because the aircraft hasn't been in service long enough. Russia claims low maintenance costs, but they've made many false claims about the Su-57. Fourth, customers must factor in enormous political risks. What if sanctions prevent spare parts supply? What if Russia prioritizes their own air force during shortages? These aren't hypothetical. They're realistic risks that add massive hidden costs. For countries with defense budgets, the calculation is simple. Why buy 40 Su-57s with all these problems when you could buy 40 upgraded Su-35s available now with established support, or Chinese J-10s that cost less with better industrial backing? The financial case doesn't exist unless you have no other options, which explains why only Algeria has ordered. Beyond technical and financial problems, nobody trusts Russia to deliver what they promise. Trust matters when countries enter relationships lasting 30 to 40 years, depending on suppliers for upgrades, support, and spare parts. Russia promised a fifth-generation fighter and delivered something that falls short. They promised advanced engines that don't exist after 8 years. They promised delivery timelines and missed them by years. They promised collaboration with India and refused technology sharing. Russia's military performance in Ukraine demolished trust. Their equipment underperformed. Their logistics failed. Their industrial capacity couldn't meet basic wartime demands. Why would air forces trust Russian expertise when Russia's own military struggles with equipment they already have? Compare this to American F-35 buyers who join an international community with shared training and doctrine, or Chinese fighter customers who get aggressive industrial support. Russian customers get unreliable promises and uncertain supply chains. Russia's strategic isolation leaves them with almost no viable customers. Western-aligned countries won't buy Russian. China-aligned countries buy Chinese fighters. Countries maintaining strategic autonomy, like India, specifically rejected the Su-57. That leaves countries like Algeria, Venezuela, and Syria not enough customers to sustain an export program. This creates a self-reinforcing cycle. Few countries will buy, so Russia can't achieve production scale. High costs mean fewer can afford it. Few operators mean no user community. No community makes it less attractive to new customers. The Su-57 was supposed to restore Russian prestige and generate export revenues. Instead, it's become one of the most comprehensive failures in modern military aviation history. Russia wanted to compete with the F-22 and F-35. They lacked the funding, technology, and industrial capacity. Rather than acknowledge limitations, they pushed forward promising more than they could provide. For potential customers, every piece of evidence points the same direction. The aircraft doesn't deliver promised capabilities. It comes with uncertain support and severe political complications. Even Russia doesn't want it in significant numbers. The global arms market has rendered its verdict on the Su-57. Nobody wants it. After everything Russia invested, they convinced one country to buy a token quantity. That's not just failure. That's the death of an export program that never really lived.